Welcome everyone to another fantastic short bid showdown between G2GG as the Ogre Kingdoms going up against Matthew and Grand Cathay. Now we're going to be playing on the Tzeentch Wastelands, and this game I believe was game 2 of 3 in the grand final of the Landbattle series. Now, starting at the front, it looks like we are going to have a Lord of Yang going up against a Slaughtermaster of the Great Moor. And for Grand Cathay, over here on the left-hand side, we are going to be having Peasant Horsemen. And another one on the right-hand side, and then one in the rear. So it's going to be 3 in total, and then a front line of bonus first archer, starting with the Peasant Long Spearman, and it's like 4 units of the Jade Warrior Halberd. So pretty good armor, and then anti-large and armor piercing as the melee stats. Now we are going to have the Jade Warrior crossbows in the pocket, 4 units, very good here up against the lightly armored Ogre Kingdoms, and in the back here the double grand cannons. For the rear we are going to have 3 units of the Peasant Long Spearmen, so really good cheap wide anti-large, which is very strong here for sure. Now for the Lord choice we are going to have the Yang caster here with the strength of Yang and the ability of the Wall of Wind and Fire and the ability of the Dragon's Breath. We're also going to have a Terracotta Sentinel in the pocket. The single entity monster is not only absolutely gangster to look at, but this man could really punch very hard with magic damage, 600 armor piercing, weapon strength, and of course that unbreakable status, making him rather nice here in the pocket. So super wide here from Grand Cathay. In the trees for the Ogre Kingdoms, we are going to have Noblar Trappers, supported here by the Double Hunters. So there's going to be 2 in the lines. And under the new rules, we can see here on the right hand side, this hunter is going to have the Noblar Thief Stone. It's actually going to get that ward save, and then also the bang stick. But under the new rules, we can't duplicate items or abilities. So the second hunter is going to be naked, which will make him a little bit cheaper. But of course, we're not going to get that nice unspottable here for the big single entity monster. On the right, we are going to have the Ogre dual weapons, 1, 2, 3 units backed up by Ogre Balls and Mass Noblars, going super wide here with Traitor GG. And yeah, it's just bucket loads of Ogre Balls throughout the battlefield. More Noblars, the Lord choice in the middle of the Slaughter Master. Here with the Great Moor magic, he's going to be having the Belly Slapper and the Blood Cleaver, a very powerful item indeed, with the spells of Troll Guts and then also extra ingredients. Over here on the left-hand side, more Ogre Ball dual weapons, and then we're going to be having the double Saber Tusks. These bad boys at 500 gold cost, they can rampage, but those melee stats are certainly worth paying for. 95 speed, 70 weapon strength, 25 of that being armor piercing, with good charge bonuses and melee attack. So very, very strong indeed, and if they get their claws and teeth around the side here of the Peasant Horsemen, they'll shred through them very, very quickly indeed. Now, of course, they do count as large, so all of the Peasant Long Spearmen and the Halberds will do very good indeed. They're going to be very lightly armoured. The majority of the force here is going to be lightly armoured. You can see the cannon doing some brilliant work up against the Ogre Ball dual weapons. And we can see here, one of the hunters is going to get caught by the Peasant Horseman. I'm sure here, maybe charging forward Matthew, just to see if there's going to be any kind of tricksy plays going on in the front. And he does notice here the Noblar Thief Stone. We're now going to be finding the hunter here on the right-hand side, and we also see the other one in the middle. So sadly, we're not going to get around the back and compromise the Grand Cannons quickly, but still, we should be able to get around the flanks and hopefully still do some good damage. Jade Warrior Crossbows charging over to the right-hand side, and looks like we do have some Noblar Trappers, but they're going to get spotted as well. Peasant Horsemen, a nice good cheap option to get in the flanks, kind of find out all these Noblar Trappers and, you know, maybe any gorges they're going to be hiding with that stalk ability. In the front, Noblars backed up here by the Ogre Balls are going to be fighting very hard in the front line, and what's so good about the cheap Noblars, they're very good damage sacks. They're really going to absorb all the blows and dissipate the damage away from the Ogre Balls charging in the front line. So we're going to be thumping in the front. Charge bonus coming from the Ogre Balls as it's just thumped through this front line of regular humans. Look at the size of these things compared to the regular Jade Warrior Halberd. So the front line is just going to be in mass melee, or as we're going to be really punching through the lines and just slaughtering mass of the Jade Warrior Halberds. In the backside, the dual weapons going up against the cheaper Peasant Long Spearmen, and now we're going to get the Saber Tusks in the back. In the pocket, it looks like we are going to be casting spells with the Lord of Yang, and we are going to have the Terracotta Sentinel ready to go, but he needs to duel up against the Hunter. He really needs to get in and start fighting here up against the big Stonehorn. These bad boys will shrek through infantry very, very quickly indeed. And we are going to have the second one here, really bounding through and just destroying Grand Cannon crews and doing some brilliant damage indeed. The Wall of Wind and Fire just trekking through the Noblars, actually terrifying them with enough damage here. The Terracotta Sentinel really will bring some good terror to the battlefield. But you can see this entire right-hand side has been well and truly crumped by the mass forces of the Ogre Ball dual weapons, and here also the double hunters. On the left, we are going to have Rampaging Saber-Tucks really clawing and biting through the forces of the Jade Warrior crossbows. Good compromise in the back, preventing these mass ranged units from shooting up against the lightly armoured Ogre Kingdoms. Saber-Tucks still going to be rampaging, unfortunately going here into the Peasant Long Spearmen. They are going to be bonus first large, and not much armor here for the Saber-Tucks, so they're going to be falling relatively quickly. In the front, we are going to see Ogre Balls and also Noblars kind of struggling a little bit here in the later stages up against the Jade Warrior Halberds. Perhaps that melee defense really going to be helping here in the later stage. In the middle, we are going to have the Sentinel kind of finding himself in a bit of no man's land, going up against two very brave Ogre Balls, I must say so indeed. But in the middle, the Lord Choice is going to be on foot, and he's going to be very vulnerable indeed, but doing what they do best. These double Stonehorns are just rampaging through the Jade Warrior crossbows and these Jade Warrior halberds, just making mincemeat of the regular cheap infantry and then getting cleared up by the fast Ogre Ball dual weapons. 54 speed for infantry, regardless of if it's, you know, maybe monstrous or not, is still going to be very quick indeed. In the back, we are going to get the bang stick down the line here, the Jade Warrior crossbows immediately compromising here with the Hunter. And over on the left-hand side, there really isn't much. We are going to be having the Peasant Horsemen fighting here up against Noblar Trappers, but Noblar Trappers do have the slow effect, good throwing knives, and also brilliant melee defense. They can actually hold quite nicely here with mass numbers. They're going to be really chewing through the Peasant Horsemen. Now they can push out and try and see if they can compromise the Jade Warrior crossbows. In the back here, the Noblars have managed to get to the front line, but we do have a lot of armor here for the Jade Warrior crossbows, so 80 could be a bit difficult here for the Noblars to get those little pointy sticks through. So it looks like it's going to be a bit of Lord on a kind of big single entity monster fight here in the pocket. Extra ingredients is going to get activated for that power recharge and also the reserves increase. And look at that! A big cumbersome slash and pound into the floor as we just kill so many Noblars in one go. But this isn't really an optimal place to have the Sentinel. He really needs to get into the pocket, fighting here up against the Hunters. He may be anti-infantry, but we need that weapon strength and the mass to pin up these Stonehorns because they are just really pushing their way all the way through these Jade Warriors and the crossbows. So it looks like that is going to be army losses. It looks like it's just going to be the Terracotta Sentinel on the battlefield. So GG's well played here, coming from Traitor GG, really showing how to use Stonehorns to their absolute best. Good bit of a skip on here. Looks like we do pull out with Matthew, and it was a fantastic game for sure. Really enjoyed casting this one, and it's just a very good use to show actually how well Ogre Kingdoms can be up against a force that's just full of cheap archers and their mass anti-large. And this is a brilliant build here coming from Matthew and Grand Cathay, but sadly it just was not enough. I think there was maybe a little bit too much to compromise in the pocket. There's quite a few Jade Warrior crossbows. I think maybe an extra halberd might have been quite nice. Maybe some, bit of a, maybe a little bit more substantial cavalry could have been quite good up against these Saber-Tucks. I think if you take the Jade Lancers, they can actually trade quite cost efficiently. So perhaps maybe that's something for Matthew to think about in the future. But the Lord Choice of Yang coming in at 540. Not too many spells. I actually definitely prefer the Yin caster in this, coming with the Ethereal Summons, and then plus also Missile Mirage, which can be very good here up against Lead Belchers and all sorts of other artillery crews. Now we are going to have the Grand Cannons coming in at 411 and 640, so neither of these really paying for themselves, which is, surprising, but also we only had a sort of one single line defending that cannon. It wasn't staggered in the front, so the Ogre Balls with that mass charge backed up by Noblars were really kind of pouring into every orifice and shutting down all of these cannon crews and the Jade Warrior crossbows before they really had any sort of chance to gain that efficiency. Now 650, 470, 750 and 380 there for the Jade Warrior halberds, just showing that they perform extremely well here in this matchup. 307, 95, 272 there for the Jade Warriors. So I think, definitely going a little bit less. Maybe one cannon and 3 crossbows probably would have been optimal, and they maybe stepped up a little bit here. Maybe keeping the Peasant Horsemen, but adding in some Jade Lancers, some more halberds, perhaps could have been the way forward. But 402, 330, 190, 94, and 78 there for the Peasant Long Spearmen, with only 61, 98, and then 130 for the Peasant Horsemen. So really not too much here coming out of the cavalry. Sultamata of the Great Maul coming in at 140, but 2,022 and 1,764 for the Hunters, 199 kills and 341. Just shows if these go uncontested on the battlefield on top of those Stonehorns, they're incredibly tough to stop and take down. Plus also they have anti-large armor-piercing missiles that can certainly do very well up against big juicy targets like the Terracotta Sentinel. So we had 740, 655 with 130 and 300 for the Ogre Ball dual weapons. Having the anti-infantry is really nice up against the heavily armoured, kind of mid-tier infantry here with the Jade Warriors. They can really get some nice bonuses through that infantry front line. But 310, 390, 300 for the Ogre Balls and 355. 280 and 700 for the Saber-Tusk packs. They're very, very good here at just getting in the back and compromising, and they have enough AP and weapon strength that they can just shred through these Jade Warrior crossbows very quickly. 350 for the Noblar Trappers, just a nice little addition there of a stalk unit that you certainly could have got round the back and got those throwing knives to slowly take down some peasant long spearmen and maybe create a little bit of a gap in the back there to start compromising some of Grand Cathay forces. But 155, 40, 150 and 130 there for the Noblars with some great dissipation on that damage up against the bigger and larger Ogre Balls. So I hope you guys really enjoyed this one. If you did, please smash that like button. It would really help here on the channel. Feel free to leave a comment down below, but of course, always be respectful. And if you haven't already, do feel free to subscribe. So I've been your boy Logic. I do apologise yet again for another late video, but I've been absolutely smashed at work recently. So unfortunately, I'm just trying to get out a video whenever I can. But other than that, take care of yourselves, and I'll see you all very, very soon.